I want to chat to you a little bit today about how I go through a healing session with somebody. My preferred method is to work online, and this might seem a little bit strange. I can, of course, work on someone in person, but I work best online, and I have even done healing over the phone. And people can feel the results. They can truly feel while I'm working on them. And basically, what my healing entails is channeling. So I started performing channeled healing before I channeled beings directly through me, the human transmitter that I am. And that's why I feel like I can't really take so much credit for it, because I have a team of healing experts and they do all the work and they guide me as to what to do. I just facilitate the healing. I'm like the middleman, and that's pretty much why channeling and mediumship, there are a lot of similarities, because I am the medium, the channel between the two worlds. And the beings on my team are all of an extraterrestrial nature, except for one of them. They're also all 100% beings of love and light, so 100% light. And they are really beautiful, and they each have their own skills. So first off, I have who I think of as my head surgeon. He is a mantis being, and he performs all the detailed little fine things that I can't finish up myself. And this all happens in the quantum field. Happens in the deepest layer. And sometimes we're working even directly in the soul level. None of this happens without your higher self's permission, or without your permission. When you give the yes, then we go ahead and we do what we need to do. And we often find implants. Now, implants can be of an extraterrestrial nature, or they can be self-imposed implants that your higher self has placed there. And this is especially the case with many light workers who have wanted to dampen their experiences, their higher consciousness experiences, to have a full human experience, or for whatever other reason. So I think of those kinds of implants or devices, because that's really how I think of them, as either a dampener or an inhibitor, which inhibits some action or something in some way. So that is where my mantis being, my head surgeon, comes in and really helps with the final touches and the finer details of that. I also have two Pleiadian beings, both male, fairly male energies, but the Pleiadians are also so well balanced. They're a little bit more androgynous, if that makes sense, but the overall feeling is more masculine. So they work with frequencies and beam universal energy, unconditional love, and also using very specific frequencies. So often when I'm busy healing, and even when I'm channeling, there's a lot of light language coming through and a lot of light codes coming through, and they are actually helping me facilitate that. But there's certain frequencies that I cannot perform with my voice. And even if I had singing bowls and all of those kinds of things, there's just certain higher frequencies that we can't tap into, and that's what they do. They then facilitate the specific frequencies that are needed for whichever procedure we are doing. So when we are talking about implants, and especially extraterrestrial implants and implant removal, or when we're talking about attachments, that's what people would have called possessed in the old days. But nothing can actually truly 100% possess you without your permission. So we term it attachments. And attachments form in various different ways, and it is something that can happen to everybody. You need not go and be part of any nefarious acts or do any weird rituals for attachments. to come to you. But of course, if you do that, you do open yourself up to that more. But there's several different ways in which attachments can form. So with certain frequencies, and also with me channeling universal consciousness and bringing that through as well, that helps remove those entities as well. And what they're really doing is they're seeking light. And especially if you're opening up and you're transmitting a lot of light, these are just wounded beings. And the same as we have wounded people walking around, and interacting with them can be really tough. And some people have really difficult, unstable mental situations and lives that they live because of whatever trauma they've had. It's the same with these attachments. So we remove them safely and with love, and help them to move on as well. So just like with my mediumship, that doesn't always involve just the person I'm busy doing a reading for, but also often the past of our loved ones that need healing. So in this case, it's the same. The attachments also need healing, transmutation, and we focus a lot more on transmutation than clearing. And this forms part of the frequential energies that is tapped into, because there's so many things that are part of us and have been part of us for such a long time that it's not always a good idea to clear it completely. So we go in and we transmute those energies, and I'm just the channel for that. And then I also have an Arcturian being who is definitely very strongly feminine energy, and she is the one that provides all the medicinal components. So she would give ointments, and this is the best way I can explain it. It's not like a physical ointment in this 3D realm, however it works in very much the same way, or whatever medication may be needed. So this is all in a metaphysical sense, that these things are administered and put where it is needed. That is what she does, and she is an expert at that. And then I have one more being. I used to think of this being as some kind of extraterrestrial. It was always very difficult for me to actually pinpoint who this being was, but I am now much more aware that the archangels are also part of my team and working with me. So Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, and especially Archangel Raphael work with me during this process, performing healing. I suppose you could say they run the show in the sense that they are really guiding in a way that is for the highest good of all involved. And I also occasionally, however not every single time, work with some grays. These are higher frequential, 100% light beings. So these grays are grays that have opened up their heart chakras, that have ascended and have really risen to a different level of consciousness. And they are often the brains, because they are very highly technical and advanced beings. So they are often helping as well. However, they're not necessarily permanent members of the team. And sometimes there's one coming in, and sometimes there's maybe a small group coming in, like maybe 3. But they are just there to give advice, and it's a very unified and loving experience. And that is what they do. And what also happens during the session, and this I do with my psychic abilities, is I clear the aura, I purify the aura, and I help to clear, balance, and align the chakras. So I go through every single chakra, and that's often in the start of the session, going through each chakra and clearing, removing blockages, whatever needs to happen. And as that happens, I'm channeling and passing on information to the patient as I'm busy working on them. And then I also go through the meridians, and oftentimes certain information might come through, either certain information about diet, sometimes it has to do with exercise, sometimes with managing your personal energy, like grounding. But whatever information comes through, I just pass it along and do what I can from my side. I'm really just a facilitator, and then it is up to the patient to also go and implement what is best for them as well. So that is pretty detailed explanation of what I do, but it's also the shortest way I can condense in a video what I'm able to do for a person. And I've had really stunning results. I've worked on children remotely. If the subject is able to be with me on a Zoom call, then we do it that way. That is my preferred method. But sometimes, especially with children, it's not always possible. And I usually get called in when they are in hospital, and then I help them out as much as I can. And I never interfere when I'm not allowed to interfere. So that is something that's very important. Sometimes, especially with children, there are certain things that need to happen. It's part of their path. And even with adults, this happens as well. So I am very forthcoming and explain all of that very clearly during the session. And a session can take anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. And some of the other work I also do in healing are things like cord cutting and anything that may arise in that field, in that realm. So this is the basics of what I do, but there's always a lot more. It really depends on each person what is needed, and I take a very thorough and proper view of what is needed, and I listen very carefully, and it is my intention to always stay neutral and do what is for the highest good of the patient. And I work with unconditional love. That's the best way to heal. If you have any questions, I would like to know if I can help you with your condition, whether it's addiction or a physical illness or something else. Perhaps you feel like you're under psychic attack or whatever the case may be. That is where I come in and I can help with that. So if you have any comments, if you have any questions, please put it in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much.